everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of eDiscovery After Hours. My guest today is Shannon Bales from Munger. We had an awesome conversation about his time as a Sooner, about meeting his wife from the other side of the world, about what got him into teaching and writing and a whole host of other things. It was a great conversation. I know you're going to love it. Today's sponsor is Discovery Master. If you are doing document review projects, and you have multiple projects going on, whether they're in the same instance of relativity or they're hosted across the world by different channel partners, and some's in RHEL 1 and some's on-prem, you want one login to see everything, check out www.discoverymaster.co. Thanks for tuning in.
Quick time!
You don't know how to drink, your whole generation.
Drinks on the house.
Yes, sir.
Now, wait a second. Drinks are 50% off.
Right.
No, wait a second. Double the price of everything.
And I work only 16 hours a day.
A union man only works 8 hours a day.
I belong to 2 unions.
And now, eDiscovery After Hours with your host, Ryan Short.
All right, Shannon Bales, welcome to eDiscovery After Hours. Thanks for joining me. Cheers.
Oh, happy to be here. Thank you so much.
What are you drinking?
I'm having a whiskey sour here made with bullet bourbon, some Luxardo cherries, and lemon juice.
Well played. I like it. Yeah, and we're talking off camera. We're recording this on a Monday, so we're really getting our week started off on the right foot here.
Yeah, we're doing great. And just to point out, in case my boss sees this, it is after 5:00 p.m. California time.
It's in the show title. It's After Hours.
Oh, okay, good. Because it's funny. I've one of the coolest things throughout the pandemic has been getting these kind of like virtual wine tastings and cocktail tastings and stuff like that. But they always come from the East Coast.
Yeah.
So they'll send it and they'll say, well, the start time's 2:00. And you go, well, that's going to be really tough for me to do like tequila shots for 3 hours. So at 2:00 in the afternoon, I'm all on board at 5 or 6. But maybe they need to split them up. I don't know.
Yeah. The only challenge in recording this show is like we either have recently or upcoming recording episodes, right? You got somebody who's in Sydney or Hong Kong or Dublin or whatever. And so somebody is having something in the middle. And those guests have always been like coffee or tea or what have you. So we try not to violate that. The no time theft is endorsed by this show or sponsors.
Well, when you said drinks, I thought cocktails. So just that's where my mind is. We are simpatico. So I guess I'll start off by saying Boomer Sooner. Thank you. Thank you. What a weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Red River rivalry. You can never get that out without stumbling over. I mean, literally the first 21-point, the first time in the history of Texas football that they've been up by 21 points and lost a game. It's a backup quarterback.
I'm absolutely heartbroken that happened to them as a student. I actually have conflicting loyalties nowadays. My nephew is quarterback for Oklahoma State, and they play, he's a backup quarterback, so he's second in line. And they play Texas this weekend too, so we'll see what ends up happening. I'm really excited.
Yeah, you're safe until Bedlam, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You get that. So, are you from Oklahoma?
My parents are from Oklahoma, so you can never take the Okie out of anyone that's ever a descendant of someone from Oklahoma. But I did go to University of Oklahoma virtually. I wanted to tie back into my family, and it was a great opportunity, and the tuition isn't too bad. And so I finished a little later in life with my education, and it's worked out well for me. I love education. It's one of my big commitments that I do right now. I teach at UCLA and Santa Ana College, and I'm trying to get a technology program off the ground at a couple of foreign universities right now. So I think there's a soapbox part of this interview where I'll be talking about all my fellow legal technology professionals can get involved really easily at their local college.
I love it. So you hit on two things that I wanted to dive into and gave a little teaser there. So my sister is a fellow Sooner.
Oh, wow. That's how you're all steeped in all the lingo. Okay.
I know it all. Yeah. So she's a year behind me. And so I was in my freshman year at IU in Bloomington, and she commits to play golf for Oklahoma.
Wow.
And I'm like, what's in Oklahoma? Like dirt roads and tumbleweeds, abandoned towns. Like what? Then you go out there. Norman is gorgeous. The town is beautiful. The campus is incredible. Absolutely loved it. So yeah. So, but you said that you attended virtually. So I was going to ask if you're a football guy and if you've been to a game at the stadium.
Oh, all the time. I've been going since I was a little kid. So
so my wife went to Notre Dame, sister went to Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
I'm a glutton for punishment. So I was an Indiana football fan. Traveled around to most of the Big Ten stadiums during my undergraduate years. Oklahoma is hands down the best college football atmosphere in the country.
It's wonderful. I love it. I mean, that's why I don't really follow the pros because, no one's fighting in the stands. People tend to be pretty good to each other. There's always a bad experience here or there, but it's enjoyable. I always bring my kids to it. We have a great time out there. It's not unusual to see a farmer in his overalls and cowboy hat there. I mean, it's just a different thing having been raised in Southern California. So it's definitely family friendly, and with 3 girls and a wife, it's a great place to take them for the day, get some barbecue and have a good time.
Well, and plus it's I don't know where you fly out of in Southern California, but Will Rogers World Airport. I love it's not international airport, it's World Airport.
Mm-hmm.
About as big as my kitchen table. Like it's so easy to get in and out of there.
It's easy to get in and out. Everyone's nice to you. I mean, it's a very friendly state. People are kind. I took a trial team there once for 2 months. I was along for the ride to do some technical stuff, but I was thrilled when it was in Oklahoma, and they thought it was going to be like the Beverly Hillbillies or something like that. And they got out there and they were impressed with the food. They were impressed with the quality of service they received and the diversity of the people they ran into. Yeah. And I find that to be fairly common with a lot of the Midwest states. It kind of defies people's expectations. I'm proud to have Oklahoma roots and be from that part of the country. And I don't know that I'm giving my beach adjacent life up anytime soon, but I can see myself spending some more time out there in the future.
Heck yeah. Well, we Midwesterners would welcome you with open arms, as you know. So you mentioned too that you teach at UCLA, and I noticed that on your LinkedIn profile. And so I was going to ask, aside from the fact that you're obviously just money hungry, why teach?
I'm doing it wrong.
It's a get rich quick scheme, right? That's why you teach at a public school.
Well, I'm a person that greatly benefited from people's involvement in my life and giving back.
Yeah.
And I've had some really interesting opportunities in my career. For example, going to the war crimes tribunals in Rwanda and Cambodia and the White House. Those are all amazing experiences. And I was trying to find a way to give back to the community, to provide opportunity to others. And this is the way that I found that I had the most enjoyment out of it. It was personally fulfilling to me. I mean, I felt like it really after working, at my day job all day, that I enjoyed talking to students and helping them navigate their careers. So,
is it undergrad? Is it law school? Whereabouts?
Everything. I've when I was in Oklahoma a week and a half ago, I went and spoke at the law school and frequent speaker there. I'll be speaking at the USC Law School in a couple of weeks. But my classes tend to be a little bit more paralegal focused, but we do get a lot of attorneys who are looking for more technology knowledge and hands-on. I'm more of a hands-on type instructor. Push this button to do that, and I have a lot of enjoyment doing it. So
yeah, you keep jumping the shark on me. My entire research for this episode has always consisted of going to somebody's LinkedIn and then seeing if they have a Twitter profile or whatever. And so the next one of the other bullets that I wanted to talk about was your time at the UN.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, I want to kind of go down two different tracks with you here. So you've spent time at law firms and NGO and service providers or consultancy. I can't remember what the third leg of the stool was. So I'm curious first to kind of get your perspective on comparing and contrasting what it's been like, right? Because it's been interesting for me coming into this space, and there's these very stark differentiations between like attorney and non-attorney, right? Or law firm and vendor. And vendors always said like with this, ooh, like I smelled something gross, you know? So you've been on a lot of sides of this industry. So I'm just kind of curious to hear your compare and contrast perspectives on how we should all be playing nicely with each other. People need to back off.
I've had some interesting experiences in each way. In each area, I've had negative experiences in each one of the types of places that you're talking about. My first day at the United Nations, I'll never forget someone walking up to me and saying, F you, you're an American, this is the guy, like the guy that's going to be on the same floor as me, I hate your president. And you're like, oh, thank you. Nice to meet you too. And, and this is pre 2010. So, I'm pretty middle of the road political wise, but I don't feel comfortable having anyone come up to me and tell me that they F me and I hate your president. But that was kind of the welcome wagon to the UN. That being said, it was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. By far, the majority of the people that worked there were fantastic people dedicated to what they were doing. I felt good about what I did. Our country, United States, basically paid for a lot of that. So I felt that my contributions were well received. It kind of set off in both locations a legal technology support group in both areas that grew pretty exponentially after I left, and I'd come back and check in on them and virtually and all of that kind of thing. But I was really proud. I continue to be very proud of my work in those areas and hope to do so again in the future. So
was your time at the UN, and for those who aren't aware, you worked on war crimes. Mm-hmm. Was that, how emotionally draining a job was that?
One of my very first jobs was working at the DA's office in the homicide department. So I had kind of a knack for it in a way, a little bit of resiliency with that. But nothing really gets you over going to a bone pit and knowing that there's 5,000 people in this bone pit that's the size of the footprint of my house, right? And they're buried in there somewhere, and they're still pulling out the bodies. Or you go across, you come across a site, and there's bones poking out of the ground and that kind of thing. That's pretty unsettling. And that's after, 40 years in Cambodia, there's still bones poking out of the ground. And I'll tell you, it does wear on you a bit, but I feel that overall what was left behind in terms of creating a justice system, a legitimate investigative structure for them to create a framework of justice in the country that we were in, but also the countries where all the different people might go back to. I'm immensely proud of that. I had fun political kind of stories that happened over there. you always have the nationals that live in country and the internationals that are out of country. And, who controlled the conference room that I needed to speak in that day? Well, if some certain order of things didn't happen, they were going to argue and they would lock me out of the conference room, So, I mean, it was amazing, great people, amazing people. And then like a handful of children that just didn't get along,
Oh my goodness. So whether it's, the UN war crimes or your current day job, aside from whiskey sours, what do you do outside of e-discovery? How do you take your mind off things and maintain your jovial disposition? Right now, I'm jovial. Ask my wife if I'm always jovial and kids. That'd probably be a better judge. I try to keep it light. That's the way I manage the group at Munger that I'm at. We have enough serious behavior going around that I still think a smile is probably sounds cliche and a little corny, but nothing gets you through a door or help faster anywhere in the world than smiling and saying, "Hey, I need your help," or what can I do to help you out? And that builds relationships. And I followed that kind of credo in my own day-to-day work, my day job over at Munger Tolls and the other places that I worked at. So I tend to like to smile. My wife is Ukrainian. Funny enough, my wife is Ukrainian, Eastern European, and they're not known for their big smiles. Because they think if you're smiling at them, you're a stupid fool if you're just walking down the street smiling. So I have to remind her from time to time that she married a stupid fool that walks down the street smiling. So, oh man, that's just one of those little like notes when you travel internationally for business, right? And it's like, just be aware about this and this and this. And like, if you smile at someone, like they think that you're cool or they think you're devious or they think these things. And I'm just like, oh, I can't, you guys got to send somebody else. Like I can't be straight faced for 3 days or whatever it is.
But I'll tell you, the same friendliness is back there behind the facade, whether you're smiling like an idiot or straight faced like the Terminator, the will to help people and be good to one another is still there. I'd be out there and I'd have the dumb smile on my face asking directions somewhere, and someone would very straight faced offer to take me 4 blocks, over to wherever it is that I needed to get to. And so,
how did you guys meet, you and your wife?
I had a translator, and I was doing some work over in that area of the country, world, and the translator introduced me. So it was, we dated for several years, and she came over here on a 90-day fiance visa. We did have some, there weren't technical difficulties. They were acclimation kind of difficulties dealing with Southern California. And we got married on the 90th day of a 90-day marriage visa. And we've been married for 17 years. So we're doing 3 kids. We're doing all right. She'd probably cringe, but I'd say she's at least 50% Californian now. Well, she can't hear me.
Yeah, I was going to say, is she right off camera?
I'm expecting a rolling pin of some kind any minute. So.
Oh my goodness, that's too funny. So does she still have family in Ukraine? Have they immigrated?
No, well, her mom and dad are over in Ukraine and, extended family. I'll be lucky enough to have my mother and father-in-law stay with us for the next 4 months. They come next week. It'll be awesome.
That's good. There's said with that famous smile. Excellent. Yeah. I visit my mother-in-law on Thursday. So, ditto. Cheers. So do your girls then, obviously, grandma and grandpa are coming to stay with them for, do you guys make it over there a fair bit of time, or do they come to you guys, or how does that transatlantic, transoceanic
We've made the trip a couple of times. We're trying to get to a point where we can take our youngest kids are 9 and they're twins. Mm-hmm. And they went there when they're, I would say, about 3 or 4. We really want them to go back there and experience it now that they're a little older. Unfortunately, there's a war happening in Ukraine right now. and things can be a little difficult traveling around. So we're trying to make it. Maybe we've talked about maybe this next summer, but we'll see how things go.
So my grandmother is from Armenia, and her family immigrated through Turkey. So if there's two places that don't like each other that frequently have local or regional spats,
Yeah.
those are two top candidates. And so unfortunately, I have not been able to go visit the remaining relatives that we have there or kind of see the homeland. So yeah, well understood on the realities that we contend with. So
Yeah. But as far as taking my kids traveling, I love to have my kids travel with me. My oldest one, who's getting ready to turn 14, has probably been around the world with us 2 or 3 times. I've taken, even when my kids were young, we went to the top of the Eiffel Tower and stuff like that. It's a memory they still have, So I like having my family around me because, in this profession, we're often slave to the keyboard and don't get those opportunities. So I do. I like to travel with them. Although I have changed a bit from Rwanda and Cambodia and adventure travel to now I'm on the Disney cruise and Hawaii circuit. So
I was just going to ask, nobody, unless they're coming for Memorial Day weekend in the Indianapolis 500, nobody really confuses Indy as a vacation spot, right? But this kind of Southern California, which is a wildly diverse place in and of itself, right? In what it is, ocean, mountains, inland empire, whatever. But people think of it, it's like, America's paradise, right? You live in a vacation spot. Kind of. Do you do the touristy things? Like, do you have the season pass to Disneyland? Do you guys go take, if your girls have their picture in front of the Hollywood sign? Because I tend to think, I did 6 years in Chicago, right? Nobody lives in Chicago. The Sears Tower. Nobody who lives in Chicago rides the Ferris wheel at Navy Pier,
Right. It's funny you ask that because like 2 years ago, my wife and I went on one of those really touristy Hollywood tours, where the van and all that, which I had never done my entire life. And then as I was going through, I was thinking, well, that person's a client. I've been in that house, like all these different places that I kind of had connections to based on my career. And, but it was a fun thing for us to do. We live in Orange County, which is below Los Angeles. We like to go up to Los Angeles every now and then and go to a big building or Chinatown, or we spend a lot of time no matter how white and glowing I am here, we do spend a lot of time at the beach we get into the tourist traps just like everyone else. And
do you surf?
I have tried to surf many times. So all of my girls have taken surfing lessons. They all can stand up on the board. I've stood up a couple of times. I do like to get out in the water and stuff like that. So I'm down there at the beginner level, and my girls are basically surfing around me. So
I love it. All right, Shannon, I think we've come to the soapbox part of the evening here. So I want you to either wax poetic about knowledge you need to drop in the verse, or some finger wagging you need to do. But the floor is yours to talk e-discovery.
Sure. Let's talk about 2 things. How about that?
Yeah.
So here's 2 different things. I'll do a little finger wagging and I'll do some soapbox. The finger wagging. I'm going to wag my finger at lawyers and legal teams that aren't taking their trial obligations seriously. When they do not bring in a great hot seat at the beginning of their case. They more often than not do it far too late. They shop for price and not ability, and don't get involved. They don't get involved substantively in the selection of the vendor or training with the vendor, more importantly. And because they do that, we have an inefficient court process, and they don't present their best. I don't know if you know your research, but I wrote a book called The Trial. I usually have it around here, The Trial Presentation Companion. There's a plug, sorry. The Trial Presentation Companion on starting.
This show is a plug. You don't need to.
On using technology at trial right. And frankly, the firm I work at now, Munger Tolles, has a significant commitment to trial. We have training programs. We get our hot seat people involved early. And I think most attorneys would be surprised at how quickly they get sold out for the rental of a piece of equipment for $200 or something like that, so that the presentation environment is controlled by the other side. But hey, their hot seat got their $200 extra or something like that.
Right.
So my finger wag is build a relationship with your hot seats, build it when you're not in trial, train together, understand how to call out exhibits, understand how to describe and walk people through an exhibit, and you'll become a better lawyer because you'll be a better presenter. The massive weight of evidence is that jurors and decision makers, finders of fact, want basically a organized and interesting presentation of information, which means you got to make good choices about what you show. You got to make good choices on how you show it. So there's my soapbox part. Happy to answer any questions about that.
Well, I like that because it's, I don't know if it's coincidental or intentional that you ended up, but, Munger has generated a fair bit of press for their kind of tech forward practice of law, and just kind of the whole ethos of the firm seems to be very progressive in the best sense of the term. So
efficient.
Yeah.
We live and die on being efficient. And we are a tech forward firm with probably one of the highest ratio of litigation support to attorneys that is out there. So I think that's recognition of the importance of e-discovery within the law firm and being able to assist the practice of law through technology. And Munger just does it great.
Oh, excellent. All right. What's the second point? This is like a
second point. So the fun one.
We could put up a paywall here and be like, if you want the full episode.
Yeah. If you want to hear how to actually do trial good. My soapbox is the thing that I'll encourage all my fellow e-discovery practitioners to do is get out there and speak. I'm actually quite the shy guy when I'm not having a whiskey sour in front of me here. But what I will say is that there's so much opportunity out there right now for scholarship. There's a lot of opportunity to mentor people and get involved in your local university, whether it's the law school or paralegal school. And that's a great way to build up your own career credibility, is being affiliated with a university and having that relationship to show, do it because it's the right thing to do and it's a good thing to do. But I think the career benefit is that you're going to be recognized as the expert that you are.
Yeah.
So tremendous opportunity out there.
Now, you literally wrote the book on trial presentations, right? Mm-hmm. Is that something, did somebody approach you and say, hey, we think we have this idea, we think that you should do it? Or did you approach someone else? Or did you just have like this list of manifestos that you'd sent your team over the years and you thought, if I stitched these together and edited them, it's probably a book? How did that all happen?
It's kind of funny. My wife and my dad were like, you should write a book. And I'm like, no one wants to read a book on this kind of stuff. And so I wrote a proposal on the book that I would want to write. And I sent it away to a couple of publishers. And lo and behold, one of the publishers backed me and I wrote the book. But, you don't do it because you make, a bunch of money. You're not going to make a bunch of money. You're going to make some restaurant, a nice night out to a restaurant a couple times, 2 or 3 times for about 3 years. And then, you could self-publish. I didn't want to self-publish simply because I wanted the academic legitimacy by going through an academic publisher. Even though I did it more for my girls. Actually, I did it all for my girls, but I did it the ancillary benefit was that it was a tremendous career boost. I mean, you're the person who wrote a book on something. You don't necessarily have to write a book. You can, throw a dart out there to an organization and they will let you write something to put on their wall. So, reach out if you want to write, if you're interested in writing and you want to, here's one of the most difficult things that I had. When I wrote my book, I had nobody that I could use as a sounding board for what I was writing. Here's my offer to your viewers. If you want to write something and you want someone to take a look at your article, write it, send it to me, shoot me something on LinkedIn and I'll take a look at it and give you an opinion. It may not be worth anything, but I'll give you an opinion on it nonetheless. A lot of these places are looking for 1,000 to 2,000 words. And I think if you have any practical subject under the sun that you could probably get something published under a legitimate source or publishing group. So ILTA, EDRM, ACEDS, continuing education of the bar, your local university, you name it, there's probably an opportunity to write for your local paralegal association. And then you always get to put that in your LinkedIn and refer it in job interviews and things like that. So it really is something that helps build and show your credibility and expertise in the industry. Just like having a podcast.
Yeah. If you have expertise and credibility in industry, don't name it After Hours and don't have drinks on camera.
Yes. No, I'm just kidding.
All that said, I can't think of a better note to end on. So Shannon, thanks so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you to you and thank you to your viewers. Hope you enjoy it.